In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my best tips for Enshrouded after 300 plus hours in game. I'm your boy Winner Phoenix, and if this video helped you in any way, leave a like and a comment to let me know you want more. Now, to kick things off, we're starting with a bit of a spoiler. Lockpicks. All throughout your time in Emberville, you're going to come across locked chests and doors. Usually you'll find things locked up as you travel off the beaten path, but there are a few instances where you can't progress the story without getting past a locked door. As a rule of thumb, lockpicks should remain in your inventory anytime you go out into the wild, just like you would count your weapons and potions. But if you do forget them at home, smash up anything in the area that looks metal and make a lockpick in the field. While on the topic of inventory management, you should also make a habit of carrying around an altar on you. They only cost 5 stone to make, but can be very handy when you come across a new area of the game and you aren't sure you can manage the higher level mobs. Or maybe you're out farming for a new build idea and you run out of inventory space. Drop your altar and tele home. Clean up your inventory and gear and tele right back to your farm site. Just remember to break the altar down once you've finished. You can only have so many of them on the map at a time. I utilize the altar trick often when I make my runs for this next tip. Once you get to the Kindle Waste area, there's a cave that not only gives you rare resources, but gives you a wide variety of them. Some of which are even required to upgrade your flame altars at home. I'm talking about this cave right here that is a little north of the Kindle Waste Ancient Spire. It's very easy to miss, but it has iron ore, luminous growth, and sulfur nodes running all throughout it, with no enemies inside either. Plus, it's encased in sand and sandstone. Then on the outside of the cave are even more resources to get for endgame progression. Ancient bones and lapis lazuli. You'll need sulfur, iron ore, and lapis lazuli to upgrade your flames, and this cave has all three. Plus, the luminous growth is one of the best blocks to build with, and sand is used in many recipes. Upgrading your flame is very important because it allows you access to previously blocked off areas by removing the highly concentrated pink shroud. And while some of the resources you can find by mining a bit, some are more of a chance. That's usually the food items required to upgrade your altar as well. That is until this next tip, and that is to hit up the green dots on your map. These green dots are actually farms and often have the foods you're looking for within them. These farms only grow the vegetation native to their region as well. In the Springlands, you can go to the Harvest Homestead for free red mushrooms, Aurelian flower, and tomato. Revelwood has chamomile in the lush pasture, and the Bounty Barns and Nomad Highlands have wheat grains, sage, and bell peppers. Some of these are used in upgrading and others are used for armor pieces, food recipes, and even decorating your bases. That leads me to our next tip, and it's one of my favorite ones. It's a building tip, and it's how to make items appear to be floating. This can be done with any item in the game, so I'm going to just show you how to manipulate the world around you to do this. With your hammer out, you'll notice the hammer automatically snaps to a wall or ceiling, trying to build off a current structure. Unless you're in the terrain tab, which we'll talk about shortly. Well, what we want to do is place 2-meter walls in the area we want to leave items floating. Then remove 1-meter blocks from it to later add books or candles in their place. Once you have the items all in, go back to your 2-meter hammer and remove the 2-meter wall. It will disappear and leave all your items floating. You may need to pull out the 1-meter hammer to remove any left behind materials the 2-meter wall didn't remove. Now, if you are solo and don't have the hours it takes to farm massive amounts of resources, then listen up, because this next one is for you. Grinding for resources can take a long time, and for some of us, maybe even a deal breaker. But what if I told you someone has already done all the farming for you? Well, it's true, and you can get all these resources by joining Discord and searching up a resource server. There you can download a file that will allow you access to any of the things you need. It's hard enough finding the time to play these types of games, let alone farm for hours, so don't waste your time chopping trees, when instead you could be building that epic treehouse you've always wanted. For this next tip, we're going underground, but not with our pickaxe because that would just take way too long. Instead, I'm going to show you a better way with this tip. Pull out your hammer and switch to the terrain blocks. Now start placing the larger terrain structures over the dig site. Remove the dirt instead of placing it. This will take out big chunks of ground and keep your inventory free of clutter. If it's not clean enough for you, then try this. Make foundations and start snapping them into the ground at 5 at a time. Then mash the undo button to pick up the foundations. This will leave behind the perfect little square cutouts of the earth for you to then build off of. You can go as deep as you want or make a little shallow floor for hidden secrets. Sadly, that is going to be the most useful foundation blocks are going to be, as they are way too expensive to actually build large structures with. And that brings me to the next tip. Don't use foundations. Instead, while you're laying out your new build, replace the foundations with simple ceiling pieces. They are the same design as the foundations, but they eat up way less resources. Grinding is a part of any survival game, but it's not what I want to be doing for hours on end. This next tip is also going to help with the grind, and it's about infinite terrain resources. More specifically about the rake and how to use it. The rake has two functions. It can level out the ground evenly, or it can build up the walls out of terrain. The latter is more used in sculptures, but the first technique can actually be used to reproduce resources. For this, I'll demonstrate with stone. I can place a stone block here, and start to rake it out past its limit. I can get it to stretch all the way out here, but here's the kicker. This new stretch of stone is now mineable as well. Meaning by laying one block of something, I can stretch it out and then mine all the resources back up, more than quadrupling my initial investment. This can be done with any terrain block. That means grass, sand, rock, and flower soil. Next, I want to talk about the importance of being a hoarder, in some cases. What I mean by that is you're going to come across a lot of loot in Enshrouded, and not all of it is created equal. Usually early game loot is deemed trash and useless past a certain point, but there is some loot you'll be collecting for the entire time you play. And while some of you might be thinking it's twigs, I'm actually talking about shroud spores and cores. These are some of the very first things you will pick up when introduced to the shroud because the mobs there drop them. Keep them. You'll need them mainly for upgrading your flame's building parameters. You might be tempted to start trashing them once your flame is fully upgraded, but that is a mistake if you plan to make more builds in the future. Every altar you place will need to be upgraded to increase its range. It's not like strengthening the flame, that is worldwide. Upgrading your flame is specific to each actual altar. It can be very, very expensive and time consuming if you throw these away. Don't be like me. For this tip, I want to remind everyone to remember one thing. This is a voxel building game, and that means it's not like Valheim or Art. The 1 meter hammer is your best friend when building and criminally underrated. In Enshrouded, you can snap your building blocks together, or you can freely place them, allowing you to create almost anything you can think of outside of curved structures. This system will also allow you to fill in the gaps of your builds at a much cheaper rate. Not every wall you put up is going to cost the full amount because Enshrouded will fill the gaps for you, saving you precious materials in the long run. This also allows you to make 6 meter walls and taller, slender builds too. Honestly, this mechanic is every builder's dream, and if you're not utilizing it and still making square structures, you're missing out. That's all I've got for today, but that's not all I've got to offer. If you like this video or it's helped you in any type of way, consider dropping a like and maybe even a sub. I'm trying to reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers and need all your help to do it. Help me show my mom I'm not a loser. That's all for now. Later, nerds.